She hadn't cried like that in years. The kind of sobbing that left her breathless, her chest tight, her body shaking like a leaf in a storm. Rain tapped against the calf window like fingers trying to get in, but her eyes stayed locked on the screen of her phone, his last message blinking cold and final. It's over. Don't text me again. No explanation, no warmth, just an end. Elara pressed the side of her cup with trembling hands. Hot chocolate, sweet, like the promises he'd made. Lies now. Each sip was a reminder that she should have seen it coming. Is this seat taken? The voice was unfamiliar but warm. Male, British accent. Her eyes were swollen and her mascara had betrayed her, but she looked up anyway, too tired to care. The man standing there had that disarming kind of presence, sharp jaw, dark stubble, eyes like overcast skies. He wasn't smiling, not really, just a slight lift at the corner of his mouth. She shook her head without answering, and he took the seat across from her, like he belonged there. Bad day? He asked, folding his hands together. You could say that. Her voice cracked, humiliating her. I won't ask why, but I'll sit here so you don't have to look alone. He paused. Sometimes heartbreak feels worse when it's witnessed. She blinked, caught off guard by the way he said heartbreak, like he'd been there too. They didn't talk after that, just sat, two strangers sharing silence like an old song. When she finally left the cafe, he stood too, then hesitated before offering, if you ever want to talk to someone who understands. I'm Theo. Elara didn't take his number, didn't offer hers, but his name stuck in her head like a lyric you can't shake. 2 days later, he was at the same cafe again. This time she smiled first. From then on, Theo became her constant, not in the suffocating way, but like gravity, always present, always gentle. He never pushed her to talk about the ex, about the breakdown in the parking lot, about the way she still couldn't sleep through the night. He made her laugh again, told her stories about growing up in Manchester, about his travels, about losing someone once and never quite being the same. There was pain in his voice sometimes, like a scar, hidden under his shirt, but he never opened that door. Weeks passed. She didn't realize she was falling for him until one morning, while watching him laugh over spilled coffee, it hit her she hadn't thought about the breakup in days. She felt her chest rise with something terrifying and beautiful. Hope. The first time he kissed her, it was cautious, almost like he didn't believe he was allowed. She pressed into him, desperate to tell him without words that he was saving her from drowning. That night, as she lay on his chest, he whispered, I don't deserve you. She should have asked why, but love makes you blind. And she was finally seeing light again, so she didn't ask what shadows hid behind his eyes. Then one evening, she came over unannounced. She'd left her scarf at his place. The door was slightly open, music playing. Her smile faded as she stepped in quietly, calling his name. She heard voices, and then she saw her, a woman sitting cross-legged on Theo's couch, holding a wine glass, laughing at something he'd said. She was gorgeous, confident, at home. Elara didn't move, couldn't. She watched as the woman leaned in and kissed Theo like she'd done it 100 times before. He kissed her back, the same way he'd kissed Elara, the same hesitation, the same tenderness. When he noticed her standing there, his face drained of color. The glass in her hand dropped, shattering. Silence stretched until it strangled the air. Elara, he breathed. She didn't answer. Her legs carried her out the door, across the hall, down the stairs, into the street. Her ears buzzed. Her heart screamed. That night, she didn't cry. Not a tear, not a word, just silence, until he knocked on her door at midnight. I can explain. She let him speak. I met her before you. It ended, or I thought it did. She came back. I didn't mean for it to happen. She slapped him, hard, then whispered, I was broken when you found me, and you pretended to fix me. Why? He didn't have an answer. She closed the door, but 3 days later, she found a note under her pillow. One she never saw him leave. You were never a distraction. You were the only real thing. But real things scare me, and I ruin what I love. Underneath the note was a photograph. The same woman on the couch, only younger, standing next to a grave. The tombstone said Amelia Rosier, age 5. Elara stared at it, then flipped the photo dot in his handwriting. My daughter. I lost her. Then I lost her mother. Then I lost myself. She sank to the floor, the note trembling in her hands. Her eyes burned, but this time, the tears came with fury, confusion, and something else, doubt. because the woman in the photo didn't look like a stranger anymore. She looked like someone who knew how to play dead, and Alara had the sudden, awful thought, what if the woman on Theo's couch wasn't his ex? What if she was his wife? Or worse, what if she never died at all? Alara couldn't sleep. The photo haunted her. She kept flipping it over, reading his words, trying to make sense of something that made none. The woman Amelia's mother looked too alive in that photo to match the grave behind her. That alone was jarring. But the real panic hit when Alara stared longer at the woman's eyes. Something behind them didn't belong in grief. They were calm, cold, like she was posing, like she knew. Alara went back to the cafe, hoping to see Theo, hoping to get answers or maybe just scream. But he wasn't there. Not that day, not the next, not the day after. It was like he'd vanished. She texted once, no reply, called, straight to voicemail. The ache in her chest returned, sharp and cruel. But this time it wasn't heartbreak. It was fear. She remembered something Theo said weeks ago offhandedly when they were talking about trust. Everyone lies, Alara. Some lies save you. Some lies bury you. It sounded deep then. Now it felt like a warning. So she did something she hadn't done in years. She searched online, through photos, news articles, obituary records. It took time, but eventually, she found something. There was no record of Anne Amelia Rosier dying in the last 5 years. No obituary, no funeral announcement, no local news. But there was an article from 4 years ago. The headline stopped her heart. Mother and child missing after house fire, foul play suspected. The mother's name? Lena Rosier. The child? Amelia. She opened the article with trembling fingers. The fire had started in the middle of the night. The husband, Theo Rosier, was found unconscious on the lawn. No trace of the mother or child was ever recovered. Investigators suspected arson. There were mentions of a custody battle. Neighbors described Lena as kind, quiet, protective. One line hit Alara like ice to the spine. Authorities have not ruled out the possibility that Lena and Amelia faked their deaths. Alara dropped her phone. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Every memory of Theo now felt different, sharper, colder, laced with hidden meanings. His tenderness had always carried a flicker of something darker, something restrained. She just hadn't seen it. She called the local police station where the fire had been reported, asked casually if she could speak with someone about the Rosier case. They transferred her to a detective, who was surprisingly quick to take her seriously. Once she said she might have information, he asked to meet. That evening, Alara waited in the corner booth of a quiet diner. The detective arrived late, his tie crooked, his eyes tired. His name was Holt. She handed him the photo, the note, and her story, every word of it. He listened carefully, saying little, nodding slowly. When she finished, he asked just one question. Did he ever mention the name Serafini? Alara frowned. No, who's that? Detective Holt hesitated, then leaned in. We suspect that's what she goes by now. Lena. It's a name that showed up recently in connection to an underground identity forgery ring. She's careful, smarter than anyone gave her credit for. But if she's alive, and with Theo, he didn't finish. But why would she go back to him? Alara asked. Why pretend to die only to? That's what we've never understood. Holt said. Unless she didn't go back willingly, or unless she was never the victim. The words landed heavy in Alara's mind. She walked home in a fog of dread. She barely noticed the man following her, not until she reached her front door and heard the sharp crunch of a step behind her. She turned, expecting a stranger. It was Theo. His eyes were sunken, his voice low. I didn't know you were going to the police. She stepped back. I had to. You lied to me about everything. I didn't lie, he said. I left things out because I was trying to protect you. From what? He looked behind him, paranoid, then whispered, from her. Lena. She laughed, but it came out broken. You expect me to believe she faked her death and you're the victim? I don't care if you believe me, but don't trust her. Don't let her near you. She's not who you think she is. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded sheet. She's watching you now, Alara. She always watches before she moves. The paper was a printed photo, black and white, surveillance style. It showed Alara sitting at the cafe, smiling. Across the street, behind a newspaper, sat Lena. Same sharp eyes, the same cruel calm. She's in this city, Theo said, and she never leaves loose ends. Alara's knees nearly buckled. She clutched the doorway for balance. Why me? Because you were mine, even for a little while. He looked at her then, not with love, not with guilt, with warning. Then he stepped back into the night, vanishing before she could stop him. Her phone buzzed 5 minutes later. Unknown number. One message. He's lying again. Meet me. I'll tell you everything. Below it, an address. An abandoned train station. Midnight. Alara stared at the screen. If Theo was lying, she needed to know. But if Lena was telling the truth, then who exactly had Alara fallen in love with? And what if neither of them was who they claimed to be? The clock read 11:54 p.m. Alara stood alone on the cracked pavement outside the abandoned train station, her breath shallow, heart pounding so hard it almost drowned out the silence. Rusted rails glinted under the pale moonlight. The wind whispered through shattered windows like a warning, but she didn't turn back. She couldn't. She had to know who was lying, who was watching her, who was she really in danger from. Footsteps echoed from inside. A shadow emerged. Not Lena, at least. Not the Lena from the photo. This woman had short black hair, not auburn. Her lips were painted blood red. She wore all black, tailored and deliberate. The kind of woman who made you second guess your own memory. But her eyes were unmistakable, sharp, unblinking. Alara, she said softly, you're braver than I thought. Alara didn't speak. Her fists were clenched. The woman smiled. You've seen the photo, the grave, the lies, but you haven't heard the truth. Then talk. Alara snapped. She stepped closer. My real name is not Lena. Never was. And the little girl, Amelia? She's not my daughter. She was never even mine to lose. Alara's stomach flipped. What are you talking about? She tilted her head. He didn't tell you, did he? Of course he didn't. He plays the victim so well. But the fire? I didn't start it. He did. Because I found out what he was doing to that child. What he had planned for her. The silence split wide open. He tried to make it look like I died. Burned the house down. Made sure I couldn't testify. I escaped with Amelia. I disappeared. I raised her far away, under a new name, always running. But he found us again last year. Took her. I've been tracking him ever since. Alara stumbled backward. You're lying. She raised a hand. I expected you to say that. He's charming. Always has been. That's how he gets in. He chooses women who are already broken. He patches the cracks just enough to crawl inside. Alara's breathing quickened. Her mind swirled with memories. Theo holding her after nightmares. Theo whispering that she was safe. Theo showing up at her doorstep with flowers, laughter, silence. All so perfectly timed. Was it love? Or was it control? She barely heard the rest. I didn't come here to scare you, Lena said. I came to ask for your help. I've followed him for years. I know how he moves. But he opened up to you. You've been inside. You've seen what he keeps. Alara shook her head. There's nothing. Just clothes, books, photos. Did you ever look in the basement? Alara froze. Theo never let her. Said it was full of old junk, water damaged, boxes. She believed him. Lena saw her expression and nodded. He keeps souvenirs. Not of you, of them, the ones before. Maybe even photos of the fire. Maybe even proof. I don't believe you, Alara whispered. I can't. Lena handed her something, a necklace, tiny silver, the name Amelia carved into the charm. I found this in your bag, she said. 3 days ago. He put it there. He's playing a game, Alara, with both of us. The sound of footsteps behind them made Alara turn. Theo, standing in the shadows, watching. I told you not to meet her, he said, voice flat, expression unreadable. Did you follow me? Alara asked, her voice breaking. Theo didn't answer. He stepped forward slowly, hands raised. She's trying to turn you against me. She says you hurt Amelia, Alara said. That you took her. Theo's face twitched. I lost her. Lena stepped between them. No, you killed her father. You took her from me. You buried the truth and wore it like a mask. Alara backed away, her heart racing. Is any of this real? She asked Theo. Was I just a game? No, he said softly. You were a mistake. That was the moment everything cracked. Alara ran. Lena followed. Behind them, Theo didn't yell, didn't chase. He simply turned and walked away into the shadows, like he'd already won something. Back at her apartment, Alara locked the doors and collapsed to the floor. Lena stayed by the window, checking the blinds as if expecting him to appear. I'm not staying long, she said. But I had to warn you. Why me? Alara whispered. Why now? Because you're not the first, but you might be the last. Alara looked up. Her hands were shaking. Then we stop him, she said. But Lena didn't smile. Then you'd better be ready to find out what's in the basement. And the next morning, when they broke into Theo's locked cellar, they found what he'd hidden. A wall of photos, of women, of children, of Alara, and a list, with names, every one of them crossed out, except hers. Alara stared at the list, her name circled in red at the bottom, no checkmark, not yet. Above it, 12 names, all crossed out with heavy strokes like scars. The oldest dated back 10 years, the last name before hers, Juliet Reyes, a name she didn't recognize, but the photo next to it stopped her breath. It was a woman who looked eerily like her. Same eyes, same dark hair, same crooked smile. She stepped closer and noticed something in the corner of each photo, a small handwritten number. Coordinates. Lena scanned the wall with eyes like steel. He's been doing this for years, she said. And not just women. Look. She pointed to a row of smaller faces, children, their expressions frozen in time, some smiling, some not, all of them with that same eerie calm. What does it mean? Alara asked, her voice barely audible. It means you were never special to him, Lena said. You were next. Alara sank onto the old wooden floor, nausea rising. Every hug, every kiss, every whisper from Theo came crashing back with a new, sinister tint. How close had she come? How much of herself had she given away to a man who'd already marked her for erasure? Lena knelt beside her and pressed a flash drive into her hand. I copied everything. If something happens to me, go to Detective Holt. Alara looked at her. You think he'll come for us? Lena didn't blink. He doesn't let loose ends breathe. That night, they didn't sleep. They barricaded the doors, sat in silence, weapons nearby, kitchen knives, a tire iron, even a heavy flashlight. But Theo didn't show. Not that night. Not the next. Then on the third morning, Alara woke to find Lena gone. No sign of struggle. No note. No blood. Just one thing left behind. Alara's name tag from work, placed carefully on the kitchen table, and under it, a scrap of paper. I told you. I ruined what I love. Alara called Detective Holt. He answered on the second ring. She could barely speak but managed to tell him about the basement, the photos, the list. He promised to send someone, but something in his tone felt off, flat, detached. Detective, have you been watching Theo? She asked. A pause. Yes, for a long time. Another pause. And have you ever caught him doing anything? The line was silent for too long. Then he said, sometimes, catching a man like that requires letting him run until he stumbles. The call ended without warning. Alara didn't trust anyone after that. She left the city the next day, packed what little she had, burned the rest, changed her name, dyed her hair, moved 3 states over. She found a quiet job at a flower shop in a town with no history. For a while, she convinced herself it was over. Until 6 weeks later, a bouquet was delivered to the shop. No sender. White lilies and nightshade. Alara's breath hitched. The card was blank, except for a single typed sentence. Juliet Reyes says hello. Her hands trembled so violently she dropped the card. Juliet was dead. Or at least she should be, unless the pattern was worse than she thought. Unless Theo didn't kill them. Unless he changed them. And now they were working for him. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number again. One photo, Lena, tied to a chair, bruised, eyes wide with fear, and a message. You left her behind. Now finish what you started. Below it, coordinates. The same format as the others, same handwriting. And beneath that, a timer, counting down. 3 hours, 11 minutes, 23 seconds. Alara looked at the clock on the wall. The ticking grew louder in her ears. She had a choice, run, or go back. But she already knew which it would be. Because now she wasn't just a name on the list, she was the only one left not crossed out. The road felt endless. Trees lined the highway like guards, their dark silhouettes flickering past her windshield as Alara raced against the clock. 2 hours, 21 minutes, 48 seconds. The timer haunted her, glowing on the burner phone she'd bought that morning. She didn't know if the countdown ended with Lena's death or her own, but she couldn't let it run out. Not without trying. She didn't tell anyone where she was going. Not the police. Not Holt. She didn't trust them anymore. For all she knew, Holt was part of it, another mask in Theo's collection. The coordinates led her to a remote farmhouse off a back road in the middle of nowhere. The place was quiet, like sound had been drained from the air. She stepped out of the car and approached the porch. The boards creaked under her weight. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, the house was dim. Dust motes swirled in the slanted sunlight. The scent of mildew and rot made her gag. She moved slowly, every step measured, flashlight clenched tight like a weapon. The living room was empty, the kitchen too. Then she heard it faint, rhythmic tapping. She followed it down the hall to a basement door. It was open. Her heart thundered. She descended the stairs, one by one, into a space swallowed by shadows. The air was colder down there, heavier. And then she saw her Lena, bound to a chair, mouth gagged, eyes filled with fury and fear. She was alive, barely. Alara rushed to her. Lena, I've got you. Click. The sound froze her blood. Theo stepped from the shadows behind a pillar, calm, smiling. I knew you'd come, he said. You always do. Alara backed up, blocking Lena. Let her go. Theo tilted his head. I will, but first let's finish the story. He walked slowly, circling her like a predator. You think you know me. You think you've figured it all out. But here's the truth, Alara. I didn't kill those women. Liar, she spat. He laughed. They killed themselves. After I showed them what they were, what they'd buried. You'd be surprised how many people carry darkness inside. I just helped them see it. Juliet, Lena, Amelia, they were broken long before me. I just cracked the surface. You stole Amelia. His smile faltered. No, Lena stole her. From me. She ran because she couldn't face what she did. You think she's innocent? She started the fire. She lit the match. Ask her. She won't deny it. Alara looked down at Lena, whose eyes were filling with tears but not denial. No, Alara whispered. Theo stepped closer. She killed Amelia, Alara. She left me with nothing. That's why I find women like her. I make them feel what I felt. Loss, confusion, the slow burn of guilt. You're sick. He leaned in. I'm honest. She swung the flashlight. It cracked across his face, sending him stumbling backward. She lunged for Lena's ropes, cutting them loose with shaking hands. Theo was already recovering, blood dripping from his brow, eyes blazing. You want to run? He growled. Go ahead, but you won't get far. Alara grabbed Lena's arm and hauled her up. They ran up the stairs into the blinding sunlight, out the front door. But the car they'd forgotten the keys were still inside, engine dead. Theo burst through the door behind them. They sprinted into the woods. Branches clawed at them. Roots tripped them. Theo's voice followed like smoke. I warned you, Alara. I ruined what I love. They didn't stop until they reached a stream. Lena collapsed. Alara turned to listen. Silence. Too much silence. Then her phone buzzed. Message received. 1 hour. Pick one. Attached was a live feed. 2 screens. In one, Lena. On the floor. Tied again. Time stomp. Now. In the other. A girl. Young. Pale. Tied to a chair. A name tag on her shirt. Amelia. The breath left Alara's lungs. She's alive? Lena stared at the screen, shaking her head in disbelief. No, she died. I saw her, but there she was, alive, afraid. And then a final line appeared below the stream. One lives, one dies. Your choice. 60 minutes. Alara dropped the phone. The woods felt like they were closing in. This wasn't just Theo's game anymore. This was something bigger. Someone else was watching, and someone else was controlling the clock. Alara's hands were numb as she stared at the dual live feeds, one of Lena, one of a girl who couldn't be anyone else but Amelia. It wasn't a recording. Amelia blinked, shifted, looked straight into the camera. The time stamp didn't lie, but she was supposed to be dead, burned in a fire, gone. Unless Theo had taken her all those years ago, unless Lena had lied, or unless someone else had been lying the whole time. Lena's voice was barely a whisper. She can't be alive. I saw her room. I saw the flames, but you didn't see her body, Alara said, her throat raw. Maybe he pulled her out. Maybe he raised her. Lena looked broken. He wouldn't. He couldn't. You lit the fire. Alara snapped. Didn't you? Lena closed her eyes. I didn't know she was inside. He told me. He took her out. He told me he'd meet me outside. And he didn't, Alara said bitterly. He let you believe she was dead. They both fell silent. The wind rustled the leaves above like murmurs of the past. Then Alara picked up the Phone again. The timer had dropped below 50 minutes. I'm not choosing, she said. That's what he wants. Lena stood shakily. He always does this. Twists pain into choices. No matter what you pick, you end up broken. But someone else is helping him. Alara muttered. These feeds, this setup. He's not alone. Maybe he never was. Lena grabbed her arm. We need to go back to the house. No, Alara said. We missed something. The basement was a trap. Yes, but maybe it's also a door. Somewhere else. A tunnel. Another room. They ran. By the time they reached the house, the sun was beginning to dip. They entered through the back, careful and quiet. No sign of Theo. The basement was still open, the ropes gone. They retraced their steps. Alara found a patch of floor beneath the rug where the dust looked disturbed. She dropped to her knees, feeling the edges, a hidden hatch. With Lena's help, she pried it open, a second staircase. They descended into darkness, the air changing with each step. It smelled sterile, artificial. At the bottom, motion activated. Lights flickered on. A lab, or something like it. Banks of monitors lined one wall, all off. Rows of small drawers locked, and on the center table, a series of files, printed, titled, Subject to 13 Juliet Reyes, Subject to 21 Lena Rosier, Subject to 34 Alara Quinn. Alara opened hers. Her whole life, notes on her breakup, the calf, her job, her routines, observations about her behavior, how she reacted to emotional manipulation, how quickly she bonded to comfort. This isn't just stalking, she whispered. It's testing. Lena opened hers. Inside, a photo of her and Amelia, notes on maternal instinct, emotional thresholds, despair reaction times, a line circled in red. Subject believes herself responsible for the child's death. Resulting guilt makes her susceptible to corrective programming. Then the lights flickered, a screen buzzed. To life, Theo's face appeared calm as ever. Well done, he said. Truly, you made it to the final room. Where is she? Alara shouted. Where is Amelia? Theo leaned forward. She's alive, and she's waiting, but not for rescue, for revelation. Another feed opened. Amelia again. Only now she stood in front of a mirror, whispering to herself. Her eyes were strange, unfocused. She's not a hostage, Theo said. She's the final experiment. Lena stepped forward. What did you do to her? Theo tilted his head. Trained her, conditioned her. I didn't take her, Lena. You gave her to me. You left her behind in fire. I raised her in silence. In truth, she's stronger now. Alara shook her head. You're insane. No, he said. I'm building something better. And you, Alara, were the final phase, the final test. How long it takes to create loyalty, to destroy independence, to replace heartbreak with dependence. The screen showed a final message. Door unlocks in 10 minutes. One must enter. One must stay. Amelia chooses who. The feed shifted. Amelia, holding a small device, a switch. She looked at the camera. Her mouth moved. I remember the fire. Then a soft, eerie smile. I remember who left me. Lena collapsed into a chair. Alara stepped back, heart racing. We have to leave. We can't, Lena said. If we run, she stays with him, like a puppet. Or worse, Alara added, like a successor. And as the timer ticked down, the door in the far wall clicked open. From the shadows stepped Amelia, not a little girl, a teenager now, expression blank, holding the switch, eyes locked on her mother. And Alara, I have to choose now, she said. Voice quiet. But he said not to choose with my head. She raised the switch. I should choose with my heart. The light on the device turned red. Alara took a step forward. Amelia, please. Amelia blinked, then said one word. Boom. The explosion never came. The lights cut out instantly, plunging them into blackness so thick it swallowed breath. Alara hit the floor instinctively, dragging Lena down with her. She waited for the heat, the force, the fire, but all she heard was a soft whirring hum, mechanical, almost like a fan winding down. Then emergency lighting flickered to life, dim red strips along the floor, revealing silhouettes, shadows, no fire, no debris, no smoke, just Amelia, standing exactly where she had been, still holding the device, still smiling, but the red light had turned green. What is this? Alara hissed. Lena stared, frozen in place, her voice hollow. It was never a bomb. Amelia stepped forward, the switch still in her hand. He said it would feel real. He said fear makes truth louder. Alara rose slowly. Amelia, whatever he told you, it's not truth. It's control. You don't have to listen to him. I'm not listening to him, Amelia said calmly. I'm testing you. Her eyes locked on Lena. You left me. In that fire. You said you'd come back. You didn't. He found me. Lena's voice cracked. I thought you were gone. I blamed him. Amelia stepped closer. He told me I could fix what you broke. That I could be more than memory. That I could choose. The floor lights changed to blue. Another door clicked open behind Amelia. A hallway of mirrored panels. She turned to Alara. You're the last trial. The final phase. You passed. By the way, you broke the pattern. You didn't become him. You didn't fold. Alara stared at her. You, what? Amelia looked amused, even proud. I was his test subject, but I outgrew him. He tried to make me into something controlled. Instead, I became something aware. She tapped the side of her head. He taught me patterns, repetition, obsession. He made me study every woman. He manipulated every man who failed to stop him, every cop who looked away. I cataloged every failure, every weakness, and I designed the endgame. Lena's breath hitched. You're just a child. I was, Amelia said softly. Now I'm a system, a mirror, and he's already dead. Alara froze. What? Amelia stepped aside, gesturing to the mirror panels. One by one, they turned transparent, revealing surveillance rooms, screens, audio logs. And finally Theo, slumped in a chair, still, unmoving, his throat slit, blood dried down his shirt like spilled ink. I killed him last night, Amelia said simply. He became irrelevant. He wanted the world to break people. I wanted to see who survived. Alara backed away, her chest tight. You're not saving anyone. No, Amelia agreed. I'm ending something. Lena whispered. What do you want? Amelia turned to her mother. You. The door behind Alara slammed shut. The walls hissed. Gas began leaking into the room. No, Alara screamed, dragging Lena toward the panel, but Amelia was already walking. Down the mirrored hall, back straight, hands behind her back. You had a choice once, she called. You chose fire. Alara slammed her fists against the glass. Please. But Amelia kept walking, and then, she stopped, spoke without turning back. She's your responsibility now, Alara. Save her, or die trying. That's your final test. The doors locked, and a timer began flashing on the panel beside them. 00:09:59. Alara turned to Lena, whose lips were blue. The gas was working fast. She scanned the room, found a vent, bolted for it, tried to rip it open. Not enough time. Her lungs burned. She couldn't see. She couldn't breathe. Then a hiss. The gas stopped. A click behind her. The emergency door creaked open. She dragged Lena out into a cold metal hallway, both of them coughing, collapsing. Above them, a speaker crackled to life. Amelia's voice. You passed. Alara looked up, eyes red and wild. Why? Why put us through this? Because no one ever came for me, Amelia said, and I wanted to see if someone finally would. Static. Silence. Then, another voice broke through the intercom. A man's voice, different, gravelly, unfamiliar. Alara Quinn. Subject a 34. Congratulations. She froze. What is this? The voice continued. You have exited phase 3. Humanity stress calibration complete. Please await extraction. Deletion of failed subjects in progress. Alara shook Lena awake, terrified. What's happening? Lena's eyes widened. Alara, it was never just Theo. He was just one layer. Above them, heavy machinery began to hum. Doors slid open. Robotic footsteps echoed down the corridor, and for the first time, Alara saw what she'd never expected. A camera hovering overhead, blinking, recording, broadcasting, and behind it a symbol, etched into the wall. Not Theo's, a corporate logo. Unknown, alien. The voice returned. This concludes our simulation. Subject to 34 will now proceed to orientation. Alara screamed, but the metal door closed behind her, and the lights shut off.